Greetings, Eric Bakker, the Naturopath. Thanks for coming back. Now, I'm going to redo this video because I just did this video and I didn't have record pressed. Doesn't that make you sick? Right? But didn't make me sick. Right. This one's going to be about, we're going to talk about stool softeners. Are they effective? Do you need them? Are there any alternative to stool softeners? So what is a stool softener? Well, a stool softener is something that sometimes a medical doctor will prescribe to a patient, because a natural doctor would never give a stool softener. Well, shouldn't anyway, otherwise he or she should maybe be repairing cars or doing something else, but not really doing that kind of work. That's sloppy work. Stool softeners are not required at all by people. All the years I saw patients, which I don't do now, but all the years I saw people, I saw so many people that couldn't poop. They were constipated, they were blocked up, and they go to the doctor, and the doctor would sometimes give them, whatever. Sometimes it's pin the tail on the donkey, depending on, the type of doctor you see. But generally a stool softener will be prescribed, and that's it. It may be a diet sheet, here's a good diet. Eat white bread, have some artificial sugar, and come back tomorrow and I'll give you an aspirin if you keep complaining. They're not effective because you're not really doing anything for that patient. To me, it's like, continually giving people loans and loans and loans. I mean, if they end up hanging themselves financially. And it's the same thing with the gut. You can't keep on taking drugs without trying to ameliorate the condition, trying to fix the cause, trying to work out why. Because eventually time will catch up with you and it's going to, I'm going to say something's going to hit the fan over time, right? So what are some natural things you can do? Are there any natural ways that you can soften the stool? I've got a doctor friend, an interesting doctor friend who lives in Ireland, and many conversations I've had with this doctor, and a very interesting one we had was regarding his work he did in Africa, working with different tribes, indigenous peoples, but he also did some work in Amazon and a few other places. Many doctors are like this. They travel around. You've got Doctors Without Frontiers as well. But the conversation came to constipation, and this doctor said that, what do you mean constipation? He said, these people don't get constipation. He said their fiber content's so high in their diet. So we measure fiber by grams. So if we look at the typical US citizen, they'll eat between 25 to about 35 grams of fiber per 24 hours. If we look at a typical person in the Amazonian region who's living an indigenous lifestyle, they'll eat 150 to 200 grams in 24 hours. Their diet's primarily fiber with some protein. So when you've got a high fiber diet, you've got bulky motions, not sloppy, minimal wiping, minimal soiling of clothing, and a real clean release, of the stool from your body. But the great thing is with the high fiber diet, guess what? You've got really good levels of beneficial bacteria, because this is what they thrive on. Beneficials love fiber. They feed on this. So when next time you've got a Dunkin' Donut and you're dunking that in your hot coffee and you follow it up with a chocolate sundae and then a bag of crisps or chips in front of Netflix, just remember that you're not really doing much for feeding these guys down here, You're probably killing half of them, and you're probably allowing bad bacteria to slowly breed, and then the fungi come along, Not the fun guy, I mean the Candida come along, And you don't want that. And then what happens? You go to the doctor, you complain of gut problems, and what do you get? Antibiotics. It's like putting petrol on the fire, all right? So, what do we do if we've got a problem in our tummy? How can we ameliorate? How can we fix hard stool? Well, I'll show you a couple of different things. Probably the most important one is to have water, because without water, fiber is not going to do much. Now again, let's have a look at the analogy of the Amazonian tribe, The Amazonians don't generally have refrigeration with cans of Coke and Dr. Pepper in them, not usually. Maybe now they've got, iPads and who knows, and Wi-Fi and everything, but tribes don't have those kind of things. They generally drink water, not much else but water, They might make up some hoochie kind of alcohol stuff or whatever, but generally they don't drink these kind of beverages. And what do they eat? Well, they eat what grows around them. On the ground, under the ground, what runs on the ground. This is what these kind of people eat. And this is why their diet is so high in fiber. Right? Cancers, you don't get them in those tribes. Constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, Remember, these people don't take pharmaceutical drugs, so they've got no real toxic causes behind a lot of their, they basically don't get any drug-induced diseases, all right? Because they're not really into drugs. Natural lifestyles, natural bowel motions. Artificial lifestyle, plastic diet, crappy bowel motions. Remember the saying I always speak about in my videos, which I heard from Dr. Alan Gaby: when you have big stools, everyone in the country has big stools, hospitals get smaller. But when everybody has small stools, the hospitals get bigger. All right? If you can't poop, you're in trouble. Water's the key thing. When you get up in the morning, have that glass of water, right? Not that coffee straight away, but that glass of water. And over time, add a bit of lemon juice to it. Try and become a regular water drinker throughout the day. Several glasses. It'll make a big difference. If you can't do that one thing, and you say, I can't drink water, it doesn't taste good, switch off. Don't watch this video, okay? Water is the key thing. If you can't do it, can't help you. Second one is fiber. Even if you add one small carrot to your diet per day, chop it up, eat that when you're watching, you're binging on something, Netflix or something again. Apple, pear, carrot. There are so many foods high in fiber. So these are the things that are going to help to bulk up the stool and allow the bacteria to thrive, right? Let's look at the third point, that's movement. Sitting in front of a computer screen is going to really not do much for the digestive system. It's not going to move things around much, is it? Walking every day is essential if you've got hard stools, right? Essential. Nuts and seeds, I forgot to mention those too. They're good sources of fiber. And the last one I'll leave you with is olive oil, right? Small amount of olive oil every day. Start with 1/4 teaspoon, right? And when I say start small, I'm not saying, fill a whole glass up with olive oil and drink it every day. About 1/2 teaspoon in your food every day, slowly build it up until you get to the stage where I am, where you have about 2 tablespoons of olive oil a day, which is quite average for Italian or Greek person to have reasonable amount of olive oil per day. When I practiced in Australia, in Brisbane, a lot of my patients were Greek and Italian patients. I never saw a case of constipation in any people, Greek people that lived the Greek lifestyle. I never saw it. Never. But when I started to work on Skype with more people from California, I found the opposite. I found that about 30% of my patients couldn't poop. So you can really see a contrast there, right? So what's the difference with the Greek diet? Well, it's not exactly Amazonian, is it? It is wine involved, yeah. But heck, look at the olive oil involved. Look at the tomatoes, okay? Look at all the produce they put in their diet. Look at all the cooking. There's pasta in there, yeah. But there's also a lot of love and laughter, and there's a lot of companionship, a lot of community spirit in these places, all right? People enjoy each other's company around food. That's a key thing, all right? So remember, if you can't poop, I'll just repeat those things: water, fiber, movement, olive oil. Give it a go.